welcome to a new video in the new year of 2025. I hope your New Year's was good, your holidays were good. I have decided to make a 2024 media wrap, which is just a video where I'm going to talk about all of my favorites, like different medias that I enjoyed last year. So I'm going to be talking about books, movies, and music. So first, let's start off with books. Last year I wasn't very good. Me and literature didn't get along very well, unfortunately, so I didn't read as much as I wanted to, and when I did read, it kind of felt like torture, unfortunately. But I did find some pretty good books that I really liked. So here I have 4 of them. First, let's start off with The Wall by Marlene Haushofer. This was such an incredible novel, and it's so good. The Wall is about I think the only woman who is alive. Basically, she's trapped behind this mysterious invisible wall. Kind of like, I picture it as like a dome. She's stuck in this dome and she's the only person inside of it, and all the other people outside of it are completely frozen. They're like frozen in time. And so she is by herself, and she has a cow and a cat, and those are her only companions. And it talks about just her life as it drastically changes from living a normal life to living in this, or living behind this mysterious invisible wall with only animals to hang out with and talk to. She learns how to farm, she learns how to be alone, she learns how to take care of animals. Just kind of goes back to the olden days because she's completely cut off, and she has no idea why. It's a nice story about like being alone and being isolated, even though it can get scary and lonely, but overall can be a very mindful experience to have. And then I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, which, if you didn't know, is the book that inspired Blade Runner, the Blade Runner movie series. But it's about in the future. Well, in the future in this book is 2021, so it would be in the past for us, which is crazy. But in the future, humans are very different. We have like machines that control our emotions, and all animals have died out. And it's very rare to have an actual live animal, and if you want an actual live animal as a pet, you have to pay millions and billions of dollars. But you can get fake pets, or like fake animals that are basically robots. They're electric, but they look and feel and act like a real animal. And the main character is a cop whose job is basically to hunt androids, and these are unauthorized robot people who have like escaped from their facility or something like that. But yeah, that's his job, and it becomes morally confusing for him. He starts questioning his work, he starts questioning the society that he's living in, and there's action, it's interesting, and it's just really makes you question life in the future and our relationship with electronics and, you know, artificial intelligence and things like that. So great book if you ever want to scare yourself into thinking about how close we are to this future. The next book is A Little Luck by Claudia Pinheiro. It's translated by Frances Riddle. This book hurt me so bad. I wouldn't say, okay, hurt is a bad word to use, but it was just very emotional. It definitely punched me in my gut. It is about a woman who in the past abandoned her family, and she ends up returning to the city that she's from, that her family still lives in. and having to confront her mistakes, the tragedy, this big tragedy that happened. That was kind of the catalyst for her leaving. So it is obviously, if you can tell by the plot, very emotional, but I loved it. I loved it. I love any books about mothers, okay, you know, getting to the psyche of motherhood. I love that. It's really good. And then I have The Girls by John Bowen. This book was so fun. It's so quirky. It reminds me of, there's a book, oh, it's not here, I don't have it in my room. What is it? She wrote the ones with turtles. I don't know. I'll put her name and her books on the screen, but it reminds me of her work because it's just quirky. It's just a little weird. The Girls is about two women who live together. They're lesbians, but everyone thinks that they're just roommates, but they're in love with each other. And they live together and they have a quiet, nice life until one of them accidentally murders someone. And then their life gets less peaceful and much more complicated. It's like a funny gothic story. It's just the way the characters are just like a little eccentric, a little weird, but I loved it. And I don't know, I just thought the plot was very interesting. Very interesting. So I would recommend this book. I recommend all these books, and I really liked reading this last year. So those were the books that were my favorites of last year. Not that many, just 4, but they were a great 4. And now we can move on to movies. I got really lucky last year, and I would say I watched a lot of good movies. Most of the movies that I watched last year I ended up loving, so I'm very happy about that. Some of my favorites, I had, like I said, quite a lot. I loved the majority of the movies I watched, but I just wanted to choose a couple because I can't get into all of them. The first one is Silence of the Lambs. This has been on my watch list for a very long time. It is a classic, and I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna force myself to watch it. And it was incredible. Of course, I now agree with every single person that says that this movie is amazing, because it is amazing. Anthony Hopkins is terrifying, and Jodie Foster, love her. She's so good in that movie. And yeah, the movie was so good that I actually think I'm gonna read the book. That's how I know a movie is good, if I end up, and that's how I also know a book is good, if I just want to find every adaptation and every form of a story that I can. So if it's a book, if it's a movie, it's a comic book, it's a TV show, it's a cartoon, it's whatever, I want to find all forms of it, because I love doing that when I find a story that I really, really like. And that's what happened with Silence of the Lambs. I haven't read it yet, but it is on my TBR for this year. But I loved it. I thought the cinematography was incredible, especially towards the end when, you know, they're playing cat and mouse in the house with Jodie Foster, and I forgot who plays the antagonist, but that was such a good and incredibly intense scene, and I loved it so much. And also the writing is so good. I understand that some of the lines probably did come from the novel, but still I think they did an amazing job. The cast and the screenwriters, whoever they were, did a phenomenal job. I loved the scene as well when Anthony Hopkins is in that big cage and he's asking Jodie Foster like about the lambs. He's like, what happened to the lambs? What happened to the lambs? I was like, ugh, what a performance from both of them. It was just so good. It was so good. So yeah, I love that movie. It's, if you're thinking about watching it but you're like, ugh, cannibalism, is it really gory? It's not gory, I would say. Towards the end there is like much more violence, and that is a bit gross. He does something that is a bit gross, but I wouldn't say that like it's like body horror or like super graphic or anything like that. And it's not that scary, it's more of like psychological thriller. But it does have violence in it, especially at the end, and not a great portrayal of trans people. So, but yeah. If the movie made in the 90s, what can we do? I'm pretty sure it was made in the 90s. Yes, 1991. Yeah. So the next movie is another pretty intense one. It's The Descent. I watched this with my friend last year. I think we watched it for Halloween. Or maybe not. I actually don't know the context of why we put this movie on, but I'm so glad that we did because it is now one of my all-time favorite movies, which is very surprising to me. I was very scared and nervous to start watching the movie because I heard it was like really scary and really bloody and stuff, but I've been on a kick of like survival, intense movies, like you know, Cloverfield, like if there's monsters or aliens in it, or if it's like 2012, or like Lord of the Flies-esque stories. Like I've been really into them, and I've been searching for as many movies as I can to watch. And The Descent, literally, out of all the ones I watched last year, was the absolute best. Like, it was intense. It kept my attention for the entire movie. The characters are crazy. The things that happen to them are crazy. If you don't know what The Descent is, it's about these group of women who are cave divers, or like thrill seekers, and they like to dive in caves, but they end up accidentally getting stuck in one, which is so bewildering to me that there are people that exist like this in real life. Like, you would never see me near a cave. I'm sorry. There's like, that's like the only geographical landscape or, you know, thing that like I just do not mess with. Like, I don't understand. You would never see me in a cave, like for no reason. You could pay me billions of dollars, I would not walk into a cave, let alone go deep into the inner workings of it. That's crazy. That's crazy. But these girls do. And they don't realize they don't realize how messed up things have gone, because they weren't alone in the cave, okay? But that's not even like, even without the like creatures or the monsters, whatever you want to call them, it's still such an intense movie. And the like creatures don't even really come into the very last bit of the movie. Like, that's when they really start like, you know, attacking them. But like most of the movie, it's just like claustrophobia. And I was like, this is so exciting in a really anxious way, but I loved it. I loved it so much. That movie is amazing. Even though it was intense, and like my heart was beating really fast, and I was like screaming. I remember me and my friend were like, oh! We like audibly gasped so loud at this one scene, and it was so good. It was so good. It was so good. It was so good. Now for some non-intense but very fun movies. The first one is Thelma. This was so cute. I think this is a movie that everyone should watch. It is about a old woman who gets scammed, like by, like it's Fish called, and loses $1,000 or something like that. And her family tells her not to worry about it, but she decides that she wants to get her money back. So she goes on this little adventure with her other elderly friend, and they try to get her money back from these people. And it is heartwarming, it's so sweet and emotional, and it's so funny. And I remember going out the theater and being like, wow, I think this movie changed my life. It's about like family, it's about figuring your way in life. I think is the big thing, is just like figuring out your way in life, whether you're young or you're old, and making decisions from, you know, that would benefit for you. And it was just really, really heartwarming, and I really enjoyed it. And then the next movie is Uptown Girls with Brittany Murphy and Dakota Fanning. First, I'd like to say they need Oscars for this movie. Like, I'm not even kidding. Especially Dakota Fanning. She was acting, and she was a kid in this movie, which is incredible. But she like both of them, both actresses did such an amazing job, and you would not think that they would give such incredible performances in just like a fun, emotional, you know, movie, like indie movie. But no, they literally gave their one of their best performances, I believe, in this movie. And it's so sweet. It's so sweet, and it made me cry because I love it. I love found family. That's like my favorite trope in the world. I love it. And the scene where they go to Coney Island, if you're looking for a good, emotional but funny movie about, you know, starring Brittany Murphy, who is incredible in everything she's in, and having this little like bratty Dakota Fanning, not even bratty, she's like so funny. She's like this super OCD, germaphobe, rich kid, and Brittany Murphy ends up being her babysitter, and she's like the complete opposite of her. So it's just, it's very lovely. It's a very lovely movie about family, and I loved them. And then the last movie is To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, I forgot. But this is a very unexpected favorite of mine last year. I watched it with a friend. I had never heard of this movie, no idea what the plot was, but my friend was like, it was on her watch list for a while. She just wanted to watch it, so she put it on. It was incredible. I think we both loved it so much. So it's starring Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo, I think. But basically they are three very, like, I feel like back in the 90s, at the height of their career, they were known for playing very masculine characters. Obviously, like Patrick Swayze, and then you had Wesley Snipes, who was Blade. So you had like three men who were known for being quite, like, always playing in masculine roles. But in this movie, To Wong Fu, they play drag queens, and they play them perfectly, especially Patrick Swayze. All of them are so beautiful. Like, they're so beautiful in their drag, and I just like, they play them so well. It was so hilarious, but also, again, okay, I keep saying it, but heartwarming. Like, there's definitely a theme with my favorite movies. It's so sweet. It's about three drag queens who are driving to California from New York, but they end up getting stuck in this small town. And obviously, you know, small towns, bit small-minded, bit more conservative. So, and it's so cute. It's so cute, and I had so much fun watching this. And obviously, it was made in the 90s, so you know, it's a bit racy. There's some things in there, but I loved it nevertheless. And obviously, it would have been better if they actually casted real drag queens, but still, the movie itself, I think, was really fun, and a lot of good quotables. A lot of them. But I would recommend it. I think it's so funny. I think it's like a genius movie, actually. But yeah, those were my favorite watches of last year. A good amount, but even that, you know, there's still a bunch that I could talk about. But those were my favorite movies that I watched last year. And now on to the last one, which is music. So for music, I have 4 albums. I usually don't listen to like full albums, so the fact that I listened to these 4 albums, it's kind of a big deal. So I think last year was one of the best years for music in a long time. Like, quote me on that, but like, I truly believe that. We had a lot of incredible music by so many incredible artists, and I wanted to put in like a bunch of different songs, but I was like, let me stick to full albums. So the first one is Still by Erica. I never know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm so sorry. But you know what I'm talking about. I recently only got into her music, I think around like 2022, so I was really excited to actually, you know, listen to her as she came out with new music, like a whole new album, and I really enjoyed it. It's a new version of her, music, and I really like that. But it's not too drastic of a change from any of her previous music. So I really liked it. I love the aesthetic, I love the album cover, I love, oh, my favorite track, I would say my favorite track is off this album is The Princess. Please, everyone, please listen to this, especially if you're one of the girlies. Like, you have to listen to this. It gets me every time. It makes my heart feel so loved and full and warm, and I really love that. So yeah, this album was great. Next is The Great Impersonator by Halsey. So this was a surprise because I actually don't listen to any of her music. I mean, I'm sure in the past, like, I've heard something on the radio of hers, but I'm not a fan of hers. I don't listen to her music. Like, I don't go out of my way to keep updated with her or anything, but I did see all her promo she did for this album all over my Twitter, and I thought that was really cool. I thought the concept was really cool, and then I learned why she wrote this album, and I was like, ooh, that's got me interested. So I ended up listening to it, and at first I wasn't a fan. I was like, oh, it's not really my thing. But then I saw a live performance on YouTube of her singing Hometown, which is a song on the album, and I really loved that. So I was like, let me re-listen. So I did, fell in love with it, still listen to it. I think this album is incredible. It's like a country/rock album. There are so many good songs on this. I love Panic Attack, I love Hometown, I love Dwarfinism, I think it's called. I love all of it, and I love the little interlude she has. I think it's called Letters to God, and it's like a timeline basically of the album. So the first one is like when she's young, the second one is when, I guess, like teens, or maybe when she first starts her career, and then the last one is, I think, present. So I think it's so cool. I love like creative little things like that in an album, when you plan the order and the sequence, or when you have like important interludes into the album. I think that that's always great and so fun. But yeah, I love it. I think why I love this album so much is because I resonate so much with the lyrics, and yeah, I like the way that they sound. I like the lyrics. I like everything about this album. I think the album cover is beautiful as well. So I'm a big fan, and maybe I'll start listening to her, even though I know that this album is very different from her other albums. And then the next album is What a Devastating Turn of Events by Rachel Chinoriri, I think. I'm so sorry if I have mispronounced her last name, but she is an English singer. I think this is her first full album. I loved it. I love the album cover. It reminds me of like Skin. Maybe it's because because everything that's like English reminds you of Skins, because Skin is a UK show. But I don't know, it just like reminds me of like teenagers living in England, going through, you know, life, coming of age. That's what this album reminds me of. I love her sound that she made for this album. Like, it's very like pop indie alternative. She has a music video that features Florence Pugh in it, which is crazy to have Florence Pugh in your music video. Her whole album is just like very fun to listen to. I would really recommend everyone listen to it, just because like reminds me of like what is it about it? It's like 2012-esque, you know? Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Give it a listen. It's amazing. And then, of course, the one and only, the brilliant, the amazing, the talentedly beautiful God. That is Chaperone. Yes! The rise and fall of a Midwest princess. What an iconic album. What a brilliant woman. This was so obvious. Of course, this has to be on everyone's media graph. Like, I'm sorry. This album changed lives. Changed her life. Changed my life. Okay? It's incredible. And it's so weird to think, because when I was listening to her album, I realized that I am not really a fan of that many artists. Like, I love a lot of artists, but to call myself a fan of someone, it has to be on a deeper level for me. Like, it means so much more calling myself a fan of someone. Like, when I'm a fan of someone, I don't just like their music. I keep updated with them. I watched all their extra content, like, on every social media platform. I like know everything about them. Like, I'm like deeply invested when I'm a fan. And the only Western artist that I can say I'm truly a fan of is Mitski and Lana Del Rey and One Direction. So those are the only three. But now, there's Chaperone, and she will be there forever, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this album was so fun. It's so fun. She's bringing fun back to music and neo sounds and just like a flair. She has such a huge flair to her personality and to her music. And it's so fun to see that in music again. Yay! But yeah, I love this album. Yeah! So that was my 2024 media wrapped. I talked about my favorite books, I talked about my favorite movies, and I talked about my favorite music. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this. Also, I know that this is a different corner of my room that I usually film in. I'm rearranging my room. I'm figuring it out. And this is the spot that like just looks the best for now. But yeah, who knows what's gonna happen in 2025. Maybe I'll start filming in different corners of my room. But I'm hoping to make more videos actually, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!